Welcome my viewer to this channel. Today I want us to discuss about a prominent man who made an impact in the Church of God Seventh-day Movement in the 19th century. This is none other than Elder A.N.Dugger. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe and hit the notification button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will notify you that a new video has been uploaded. Welcome and thanks. Many at one time or another have interacted with a tract or a book or a quote from this man, Elder Andrew Newgate Dugger, popularly known as Elder A.N.Dugger. Who was this man? Many have asked. What was his theology? And what were his impact in this Sabbath keeping movement in the world? Elder A.N.Dugger was born on November 19, 1886 in a place called Bassett, Nebraska in the United States of America. He was the sixth born of Elder Alexander Ferguson Dugger and a Jewish mother called Virginia Bella Miller. Elder Dugger was brought up in the Church of God Seventh-day doctrines, and A.N.Dugger attended his basic education in Nebraska, after which he proceeded to the University of Chicago, where he graduated and went to teach in a public school in Bassett, Nebraska for 7 years. Following the death of his father, A.F. Dugger, who died in 1910, Elder A.N.Dugger sold off all his properties and joined the full-time ministry of the Church of God Seventh-day. That's according to the Mount Zion Reporter of May 1973. In June 1914, he became the editor of the Church of God paper called Bible Advocate, after the then editor, who was Elder Jacob Brinkerhoff, became disabled due to old age and diseases. Elder A.N.Dugger assumed the leadership role of the Church of God Seventh-day as the president and the sole editor of the church paper, that is the Bible Advocate at the time. He had some time of moving around, ministering in new fields, and holding lengthy revival meetings and debates. On realizing the urgent need for some good book containing the doctrines of the church, Elder A.N.Dugger, together with his foster brother, Elder J.N. Nugent, and Elder Herbert Miles, they began compiling lessons for a classic book, which they later named the Bible Home Instructor. This book had over 400 pages, 161 photographs with 195 Bible subjects in question and answer format. It was published in the year 1919. The Bible Home Instructor remained one of the classic books among the Church of God Seventh-day throughout the years. It has been translated in a number of languages, including one done by Peter Kamau and Martin Makoha, who did a Kiswahili version of the Bible Home Instructor. Elder A.N.Dugger followed closely the custom and footsteps of his pioneers, whereby he used to hold lengthy debates which were termed as investigations, together with those people who were opposed to the Seventh-day Sabbath. One of those public debates were done in 1920 against a Sunday keeper known as Porter, Elder Curtis Porter. This resulted in the publication of a book which was called Porter-Dugger Debate. Elder A.N.Dugger cooperated with some of the evangelistic ministers in his missions. It is remembered that in 1923, on August 31st, he had some evangelistic missions together with Elder Milton Cross, which resulted to a number of healings. It is reported that so many people got healed. Among them was an elder sister of a lady by the name Effie Carpenter. Apparently, this Effie Carpenter was a student of Elder A.N.Dugger during his years as a public school teacher. Then in 1925, that is 28th May 1925, Elder A.N.Dugger and Effie Carpenter got married, and they were blessed with their firstborn, that is John Paul Dugger, who died when still young. Then God blessed them with other 4 children, namely Charles Andrew Dugger, who was born on 10th May 1927. We have Orabella Dugger, who was born on 1st August 1928. We have Naomi Ruth Dugger, who was born on 19th February 1930. Then Mary Dugger, who was born in 1934. So Elder Dugger had 4 children who survived to old age. I'll discuss about them later. The Church of God Seventh-day, though at first it was not part of her doctrine, the church used to have some soft spot and some love for the Jewish people and for the land of Israel. So in 1928, Elder Dugger introduced a section or a segment in the paper. This segment that introduced, he named it Palestine from Day to Day. In this section, he used to capture a number of news and developments that were happening in the Holy Land, that is Palestine at the time. Then in October 3rd, 1931, Elder A.N.Dugger gave a farewell address to the Stanbury Church, and he left together with his family to Israel. But before going to Israel, he traveled to New York, where he stayed for 10 days, then to Washington, D.C., where he spent around 2 months. Then leaving Washington one afternoon before December 25th, they went back to New York, then to London for 4 months. Then from London, they traveled to Egypt, then entered the Holy Land or Palestine from Egypt. By then, Elder A.N.Dugger had 3 children, that is Charles, Orabella, and Naomi. By then, Mary had not yet been born. So, Elder A.N.Dugger arrived in Jerusalem in February 1932. On reaching Jerusalem, according to what he wrote, is that they were not able to find the address of the person or their contact in Jerusalem. But they miraculously got a contact in Jerusalem, and they were able to stay in Jerusalem close to 1 year, whereby Elder A.N.Dugger helped in evangelizing to the Jewish community in Jerusalem. Elder Dugger returned to USA in October 1932, where he returned to Oregon, where his home was based at the time. In returning to America, Elder Dugger found that there was some like a turf between the 2 groups. The church apparently was shifting towards something else. There were some elders who were proposing that the church should continue to be led by the president, 1 man, then a committee. Then from there, the church is supposed to be a bit liberal in a number of things. Like one of the issues was on Lord's Supper or Passover. The specific date for the celebration of the Lord's Supper or Passover was in contention. There were those who felt like Passover should be celebrated on 15th Abib, while the church position had been on 14th, evening of 14th Abib. Then there was another challenge whereby some elders felt that the 7 plagues mentioned in Revelation 16, they are not future, while the church had been preaching that these plagues are future and they will be fulfilled in future. Another one was about tithing. Is it still binding to the New Testament church? Then there were some elders who were using tobacco. They proposed or they advocated for the church to permit use of tobacco and even eating of the unclean meats, that is pork and the rest, the position that the church had stood against for over the years. So it resulted to a tug of war, and the church was called, or the committee was called to make a decision on this. There was another group of elders who felt that the church should not be led by one person, but the church should be led as per the New Testament organization. This group, they called themselves the Reorganization Group. They wanted the church to be led by the 12 apostles, then 70 ministers and 7 deacons. So A.N.Dugger joined this group, whereby he also advocated that the church should adopt the position of 12, 70 and 7 in their leadership, rather than having one man to lead the church. This issue divided the church down the middle. Elder William Alexander, who was then the president of the General Conference, was stepping down. Elder A.N.Dugger had presented his wish to be nominated or to be appointed or elected as the president. There was another elder, Elder Bart F. Mass, who was in the other group, presented Elder A.S. Christensen to be elected the president of the General Conference. So according to the constitution of the church, a vote was casted, and the vote resulted into a tie. And as per the constitution, when the vote resulted into a tie, then the president, the outgoing president, was supposed to cast a deciding vote. So the outgoing president, Elder William Alexander, casted the deciding vote in favor of Elder A.S. Christensen. Elder Dugger, together with his group, decided to move out, and thus the church splitted in the middle. One group, led by Elder A.N.Dugger, they went to Salem and started to reorganize the church into what they termed as scriptural organization. They agreed on November 4th, 1933, as the day they will be choosing their leaders, that is 12, 70 and 7, to lead the church in general. The other group, they remained in Stanbury and continue to do their work. On November 4th, 1933, the church met and a vote was cast after prayers according to Acts 2:23 to 26. Elder C.O. Dodd was nominated as one of the 70 and also among the 7. Elder A.N.Dugger was selected as one of the 7. A letter was written and sent to the 70 that they might accept the call. Although Elder A.N.Dugger was not among the 12 or the 70, he remained the leader of this group, as the 1936 census list indicated that Elder A.N.Dugger was the general overseer. In this meeting, they discussed and agreed unanimously that Salem will be the headquarters of the church in the United States of America, and Jerusalem will be the world headquarters of the church. That is on November 4th, 1933. So from 1933 to around 1947, Church of God Seventh-day officially had two groups, one at Stanbury and the other one at Salem. The one at Stanbury had one person as their general or their president, while the one at Salem had 12 apostles, 70 and 7 taking leadership of the church, though Elder A.N.Dugger was seen as the overall leader of this group. So from 1942 to 1947, there are a number of young men who had joined the leadership of the church in both factions, that is the Stanbury faction and the Salem faction. These young men, they saw no reason for the church to continue being split. So they were working through having a merger of the church. On November 7th, 1947, they held a meeting and resolved a number of differences that they had. Then they agreed that the Stanbury Church accepted the scriptural form of government. They also accepted the 38 points of doctrine that Salem group had. Then on February 12th to 17th, 1948, ministers from both Salem and Stanbury group had a meeting at Fairview, Oklahoma. Among those who attended was Elder A.N.Dugger and his brother Elder A.F. Dugger Jr. Elder B.F. Mass also attended this Fairview, Oklahoma meeting. In August 12th to 20th, 1949, they had another camp meeting, and in this camp meeting, they proposed a merger, and a vote was called. 121 votes were casted for unity, then 15 were casted for against the unity in the Stanbury group, while in the Salem group, 75 votes were casted for unity and 1 was casted against the unity. So they also agreed that the headquarters of the church should be moved from Stanbury and from Salem to Denver, Colorado. So the church was reunited again. Among the elections that was done, Elder A.N.Dugger was elected among the 7 in charge of foreign missions, while Elder B.F. Mass was elected among the 7 in charge of ministerial. In September 1952, Elder A.N.Dugger, being in charge of foreign missions, had just returned to United States following a foreign trip to Nigeria. From Nigeria, it is reported that Elder A.N.Dugger contracted typhoid, and this is one of the reasons why he migrated from United States to America, to Jerusalem, because it is said that this typhoid, most of his family members contracted the disease from him. Then they were healed through prayers and anointing, but for his wife A.N.Dugger, the disease prolonged. It became so serious and that she had to be admitted in hospital. While in hospital, she lost a lot of blood to the point that the doctors had no hope that she would survive. Dugger had a session of prayer and fasting, and it was through these prayers and fasting that he made a vote to God that if Effie was going to be healed, then Dugger would sell everything he has in America and migrate to Jerusalem to do God's work from there. True, F.Dugger got well. And she heard a voice telling her that, remember to caution your husband to fulfill his promise. So the Dugger sold off everything they had in America and moved to Jerusalem to start the gospel work from there.